So our speaker today is Nancy Wolf-Leary, right here. She's the founder and president of Online Amplify. Nancy helps businesses create a credible and compelling impression online. Her unique approach combines search engine optimization techniques with a user experience focus, creating an online presence that captures the attention of search engines and resonates with site visitors. How many of you in the room need that? Building on the optimized online presence, Nancy engages in marketing techniques, including email marketing, blogging, and social media, to keep the site highly visible. I might need you. Visit www.onlineamplify.com and for more information, and there's cards at each place, so you'll be able to find her website and be able to obtain more information. So please join me in giving Nancy a warm welcome.
So thank you for having me. It's nice to see everybody. And as Kathy mentioned, there's like a little rack card and a business card at most of the places. Some people might have sat where there wasn't one. But I'd be delighted to connect with anybody on LinkedIn and follow you on Facebook or sign up for your newsletter or what have you. So please reach out. And if you're interested in talking further, I do offer a free 1-hour consultation. So LinkedIn has become a very, very popular platform. It's been around for probably 8 or 10 years, but in recent years, there are people really kind of flocking to it. So many people have established a bare bones profile, perhaps don't remember their login. Others of you might be using it in quite a bit of depth. So it's tricky when you do a presentation like this to meet the needs of everybody, so I've tried to kind of skirt the middle. For some of you, you'll get tidbits of information that you weren't familiar with. For others, it might be a little bit advanced, but the platform is very, very friendly. So I encourage you to take what you learn here, or take what this might inspire, and go back and spend a little bit of time. I am sending around a sign-in sheet, and I've requested your permission to add your name to my email newsletter and blog distribution. I will not bury you, I promise. And if you're interested in talking further, you can see the chat. So, thank you. So, we'll start out with a few slides that are rather dry, and then we'll get into pictures. So, just forewarned, stay with me 3 or 4 slides, and then we'll get deeper. So, we're going to cover tips for building and editing both a personal profile and a company page. We're going to talk about actually 10 different ways to maximize your online visibility. Opportunities to expand your reach of your message, because you can talk to one individual or you can talk to multiple individuals. You want to talk to as broad a relevant audience as possible. You can use LinkedIn to increase your credibility. So oftentimes we might start a business and we have the right formal credentials, but in order to make your credibility resonate with the appropriate audience, LinkedIn can assist. We'll talk about strategies to grow your network. You take time, you go to meetings like this, you meet people on a one-on-one basis, but you can expand your network even further through online tools like LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an excellent tool for business prospecting, business development, finding partners and collaborators and other opportunities like that. We'll talk about that as well. You can measure the effectiveness of your activity. So often people will be concerned about social media that it is a time suck, and I completely agree. If you go on any social media, like spend time on your Facebook page, and all of a sudden you look up and it's 3 hours later than you thought it was, it's very important when you're using marketing, when you're using social media for business, that you measure the effectiveness of your work, and we'll talk about that. LinkedIn also gives you the ability to message other members, so we'll walk through that. And it's very important to know where the settings are in whatever platform you're using, so that you know if you are being public, if you're exposing your location, privacy settings, communications. So we will get down and dirty with the settings. Why LinkedIn? It is a very easy to use, nimble platform, and it's well respected for professional networking. So for some businesses, Facebook might be a better platform for you because that's where your customers are, and you do want to be where your customers are. But LinkedIn is purely a professional platform. So if you don't necessarily mix personal and business, or you're not entirely comfortable, or your target customer is a business professional, this is where you want to be. It includes capabilities for a simple customer relationship system. So if you have a customer relationship system, Salesforce, something like that, wonderful, knock yourself out. But if you need some place to keep those notes about prospects and clients and keep them perhaps in vertical segments or niches, LinkedIn actually provides you with that capability. It's not the primary purpose, but it does have that functionality. This is a really important item, that LinkedIn should be used to reinforce offline relationships online. So this is not the only place. You don't give up these kinds of in-person events, but after meeting somebody at a networking event like this, you take their card, reach out to them on LinkedIn, connect there, and solidify the relationship. You see their face on their profile, and then you begin to use it to reinforce the in-person relationship. You can keep your name top of mind with potential partners, clients, prospects, and so on. Gives you a great venue to demonstrate your credibility and your knowledge. If you are searching for a job, it has really good functionality, both in terms of job postings and advanced searches, and we'll talk about that. Likewise, if you have recently gone back to school, or if you have a offspring who's recently graduated or is graduating, LinkedIn has really enhanced their functionality in terms of focusing on the alumni factor. And if you are trying to get into a specific company, again, the advanced search gives you the opportunity to network your way into a company. And lastly, LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to communicate with up to 50 people without being considered a spammer. So if you have an email marketing tool like MailChimp or Constant Contact, you use that typically with lists to communicate with your audience. Some people either choose to just use their email, or they don't have a service like that. And if you repeatedly email large groups, you can actually be considered a spammer and have your email address taken away or shut down. So if you want to communicate with a group, we'll walk through how to do that as well. All right, last dull slide, promise. LinkedIn is an online resume platform used for both networking and to build credibility. So it really serves two purposes. Yes, it's an online resume, but it's also an online communication tool. Unlike unlike Twitter or Pinterest or Instagram, when you connect with someone on LinkedIn, it must be reciprocal, and you're not friends even if you are friends. It is a professional relationship. You can include links to your website, your blog, other social media. You can include recommendations, and the nice thing about recommendations on LinkedIn is that they don't need to be just from your supervisor. They can be from clients, peers, partners, subordinates. It drives traffic to your website, and the more you use it, the more effective it is for you. And as I said before, it's a really good habit. Nice to meet you. Do you have a blog? May I follow you? And are you on LinkedIn? And I'll connect with you there. Really good habit to build. There are free and premium versions, and while LinkedIn makes a point of promoting the more expensive premium versions, like if you are a recruiter, it's a very expensive package. They also have very, very low price professional versions. So one has to dig quite deep in order to find those, but there are versions as little as $10 a month, which give you a little more visibility and a little more exposure. The nice thing about LinkedIn is there's always more than one way to accomplish something. And the user help is excellent, whether you go to help.linkedin.com or you follow the user interface. When you go on the platform and you go into edit mode, you start to get suggestions, and LinkedIn tries to lead you. So that's one way of using the interface, and then the other is to go into help. The contact actually also does result in activity. So sometimes when you're using a platform, you send a contact help form and you never ever hear again, but with LinkedIn, I have evidence that you will. So first things first, as I mentioned, the settings, the privacy is important. If you decide to go back to your office and work on your profile, the very first thing that I recommend you do is to go stealth while you're in build mode. So you're working on your experience and you're revising and revising and revising, and each time you do so, your network is aware that you have revised your profile. So This is the very top bar of your LinkedIn homepage or any page. On the far right is your photo. I presume you have a photo. We'll talk about that as well. That's where you access your settings. There's a drop-down menu. You select privacy and settings, and you click manage. Whenever you go into your settings, you always have to confirm your password. So I often am working with people and I get the big sigh, yes, you have to confirm your password. It's a good safety measure. And then on the lower part of the page here, there's 4 menus, and the very first one is the profile menu, and you turn on off your activity broadcast. That's a toggle, and you want to just not be telling everybody while you're in build mode. Very simple but important step. The other thing that's important is to remember to turn those back on once your profile is filled. So these are the 4 menus, and these help you to manage your visibility and also manage the input that you're getting from LinkedIn. The profile menu is related to who can see your activity, who can see your connections, and as I just said, remember to turn that back on after you've built your profile. The communications menu lets you take control of emails that you're getting as a result of LinkedIn activity. So for the most part, LinkedIn is a free platform. However, you will start to, just like when you buy a pair of shoes on a site, all of a sudden you're deluged with emails from them and all their partners. LinkedIn is going to send you emails. So this is where you can control how many communications you get from LinkedIn and on what topic and in what frequency. The groups, companies and applications menu shows you your groups, and we're going to walk through what your groups are about. It allows you to change the sequence on your profile, adjust settings for communications, and even say you join a group but you don't really want to publish it, you have the opportunity to join a group and not display it on your profile. So it's just kind of private for you. And the account tab is deeper into your privacy settings, and it's also where you can go to manage recommendations that you either have received or to request recommendations. So that was the settings, top right, accessed via your photo. This is the home page. When you go onto LinkedIn, this is what you will see. It provides you updates from your network, which gives you the opportunity to engage. So your home page is separated into 3 sections: the header, the body, and the sidebar. Those are my technical terms. And right underneath the header, in between the header and the body, is the opportunity to engage. So there's a lot going on this page, but that's the area that you're going to want to focus on in order to speak on LinkedIn. The search, this is the very top bar on all the pages. The search is very powerful on LinkedIn. The little horizontal bars that look like a mobile navigation scheme, that's a drop-down menu. And while you can just populate on LinkedIn, you can also use that drop-down menu, and I'll show you that in a minute. The profile area is a navigation menu item that you'll be using a lot. You can use it to view your profile. In the drop-down is an edit option, and then there's also options to see what your, which connections have looked at your profile, and then also to look at your own updates. Like, did I talk about this? I know I'm on the chamber board and we're hosting that event. Did I mention that? I can't remember whether I did it here or I did it Facebook, so you can see what you have said. The interests submenu items include companies, groups, news, and education. Education is if you have a relationship with your college or university or some program that you've gone to recently. What I'm doing here is scrolling further to the right from the top bar. That little thing that looks like a mountain with the 247, that is my messy inbox. This is if someone messages you through LinkedIn. So if somebody sends you a connection request or a message, you get it both on LinkedIn and you also get it in your email. So lest you think I am not committed to being responsive, I respond to my email and I don't necessarily clean up here as effectively. This little flag icon lets you know when someone has expressed, given attention to your profile. So they've liked an update, they've commented, they've shared, they've endorsed you for a skill, anything that you need to be aware of. The silhouette option will allow LinkedIn to access your address book and may, if you're not careful, send unpersonalized invitations to everyone. So be very careful about even going near that item, because my advice is that you don't necessarily want to connect on LinkedIn with your children's babysitter when your children are now grown and married. And finally, again, on the way top right is the photo, and you use that to access your settings, change your password, and so on. So that's the home page, very, very top. So now we're going to dig into the profile section. And this is where you build your online resume. Again, it allows you to view or update your profile. It gives you the stats, the analytics to measure who's viewed your profile, as well as keywords they use to find you. So when we talk about search engine optimization, perhaps you've heard of that. Basically, you go into Google or another search engine and you type in whatever it is you need. You know, handyman Arlington, Mass, window coverings to insulate, whatever it may be. The keywords that you use there, the choice of descriptive terms, should also be used in LinkedIn, because basically you want people who you haven't met yet to be able to find you. So within the profile menu, we can build or edit a profile, and you go into edit mode, and you hover over a field that you wish to edit, and you'll get this little pencil, and that whenever you see the pencil, you know you're in edit mode. If you think you're in edit mode and you're clicking and nothing's happening, you're not in edit mode unless you have that pencil. You add the relevant fields, and we'll walk through what those fields are. And what you want to concentrate on is showcasing your credibility, showcasing what you have to offer. So while for some, the certain fields will be appropriate, for others they won't. There's some basic fields that are required, but your resume or it's just like a brochure. One person would have a very different looking brochure from another. From the edit mode, there is the possibility to view more. So this is the editor within LinkedIn. It's prompting me to add sections to my profile. So do I want to add language? Well, no, because I don't speak another language fluently. Do I want to add volunteering experience? Well, for some, they want a section that says volunteering experience. For others, maybe they want to include it in their regular experience because they feel that it's more important to show it there than as volunteering. It's a very personal choice. The kinds of sections that you would have are summary, experience, honors, and awards. And this can be thought of sort of loosely. It doesn't have to be a Presidential Scholar Award. It can be something, a little more moderate, but certainly a mention in Boston Magazine, that would be something that you would want to highlight on your profile. Organizations that you belong to, not only general networking organizations, but also niche-specific ones, publications, volunteering, patents, language, and so on. So there's many, many sections, and you can see what is available both through the online editor and also through a simple help search on LinkedIn. So the profile section, you can rearrange the sections using those up-down arrows. So this right here, when you're in edit mode again, allows you to drag and drop. So when you see that, you simply hold and drag, and you can rearrange whether it's your education or your experience or what have you. You can also add attachments. So who was I speaking with? I was speaking with someone, sorry. And you may have a presentation or an ebook or some other kind of, maybe it's just simply a brochure or it's a coupon for something. You can attach it to your profile. But just keep in mind that that then is downloadable and visible to anyone who views your profile. If you want to simply look at your profile, you just go to Profile and you click Enter. All of what we were just talking about was in edit mode. So the header of your profile, that's populated from the body, but it has a few different sections that are important to think about. Your professional headline, your company name, your location. A good headshot is really key. 1, because they take 5 years off. 2, because they airbrush. And 3, because it gives you a professional presence. The name is really important. You want to be consistent in the use of your name. A lot of us maybe have done different things with our married name. Sometimes we use a married name, sometimes we use our maiden name, or you have a nickname that you use. wherever you are online, you want to be consistent. So if your name on LinkedIn is Abigail D. Johnson, and on your business cards it's Abby Johnson, and in your email it's A. Johnson, it can be confusing. So you want to be as consistent as you can, because if you make it hard for people to find you, and those of us with crazy names, like I have no hyphen in my last name, I use my maiden name as my middle name, it makes it harder to find you, and none of us have spare time these days. So try and think about that. This little URL down the bottom is your LinkedIn URL. So if you have a profile on LinkedIn, you can have a website, in effect, that's www.linkedin.com/in, and then / your name. If you have a common name, somebody else might be using it. So you might have to modify it a little bit. People do creative things, like if they're a health coach, it would be Jane Johnson Health Coach. That could be their URL. Mine is NW Leary because that's the way I do it in email. This little thing on the right-hand side, for those of us dinosaurs, is a Rolodex card, and that includes contact info that you might want to share on LinkedIn. So it can be your physical address, you can put your phone number, you can put links to several, 3 hyperlinks, so it can be to your blog or your website or your Twitter address or what have you. But that is internal information, so that can be seen by your connections. So when you're building your personal profile, we talked about the summary. You can use the first or third person, so you can say I, or you can say your name and talk about it as an outside party. You again want to be keyword rich. We talked about that a little bit. But what's important is to not be so concerned about using the industry keywords that you're speaking above your visitor. You have a particular skill, your visitor needs that skill, and if you're talking in tech speak, you might be going right over their heads. So you have to strike that delicate balance. Include meaningful accomplishments, goals, or specialties. So when I talked about sort of accolades or honors or awards, if you get too many words in there and the award is just too deep and complex, your audience is going to kind of glaze over. So make sure that they are meaningful. It's better to say less and make each word more powerful and more meaningful than to have a very, very long profile. The experience section, like a resume, each position is going to have a title, it's going to have a tenure and a description. You start with your current role. There's, in edit mode, the opportunity to add a position, and you include and build prior roles. If you're just starting out, what I typically recommend to people is if you have some kind of a paper or online CV or resume, that's the easiest way to build. So I often will sit on the phone with someone or in person, and that's the way we build. We start with their name and their title, and then we work from a resume. Here's the little add a position icon. You can rearrange the position. So some of us will have our own business, but we'll be concurrently either doing several things or working at another company as we build our own business. And you might want your own business to be first, even though you've been 20 years with your corporate role. You can rearrange them on LinkedIn. When you're entering a company name, say you work for New York Life, you want to type slowly because LinkedIn has an embedded search engine. So just like when you go on Google or another search to find something, as you type, the suggestions will populate. LinkedIn works the same way. The reason for that is that if the company has a profile on LinkedIn, and companies cannot have profiles as well as individuals, the logo will pop up and it will associate you with others from the company. So say I work for New York Life, and I capture the company profile on LinkedIn, and someone goes into a search, and they remember that they met me, but they couldn't remember my first name. So in the search, they type in Leary, and they can also type in New York Life. And because I've chosen the correct New York Life by allowing the search engine to find it, they're more likely to be able to find it. Interests, honors, and awards, and advice for contacting you, just in general, include as they're relevant to your professional profile. So there's some cases where something personal does overlap, like say you're in the fitness industry and you won some big tennis tournament, or you coach high school athletics. Those are relevant even though they're personal because they have some relationship with your business. Certain nonprofit or charitable kinds of things you feel are important to who you are as a person and how you conduct business, certainly include those. Marital status, not appropriate. Organizations, you may or may not choose to list organizations that you belong to. Skills and expertise, again, these are the keywords that help others to find you. The skills section was originally built as one that you would populate yourself. And a couple years ago, LinkedIn added the capability for others to endorse you. And you may well have been on your LinkedIn profile and you get this big blue box that's in your face and you can't seem to make it go away that says, does this connection of yours have this particular skill? And it might be something you have no familiarity with, or it might be someone that you've worked with really closely and the person is an organizer and it's asking you if they have skill in surgery. And it's very questionable, and oftentimes people will just kind of click to make the big blue box go away because they are on a mission. So your connections can endorse you for skills whether or not, one, you have them, or two, they know that you have them. What I would recommend is sort of pay it forward. Endorse people only for skills that you know they really have, and take a moment to look at the big blue box and make it go away appropriately. To endorse the skills of a connection, you can always go to their profile and click on the skill right in their profile. So if you really feel passionately and you want to endorse someone for a skill, that's the right way to do it. On your own profile, you may have skills that are there, or endorsed skills that are there that you don't really want to be there, and you can decide whether to display, one, the endorsements, two, the skills section at all, and three, you can get rid of an individual endorsement or skill if you don't want it. So within edit mode, you can see I'm in edit mode because I have these icons here. You have the ability to add or remove endorsements, manage them, meaning individual ones, and whether to display them or not. So as the value of skills is not necessarily one of the best features of LinkedIn, you might decide not to display this section at all. The flip side of that is that these are keywords. So if you select them carefully, the keywords in your industry, for me, it's things like social media marketing and email marketing and web analytics. But then I have people who will endorse me for, they'll create their own skill and they'll say social media analytics and marketing analytics or social media analytics. They really all should be kind of bundled. Once you have endorsements in one area, you kind of want to pick and choose. The value of having 50 skills is really just preventing people necessarily from scrolling down to the lower parts of your profile because you've taken up so much of their time. So bottom line, you can decide whether to display your endorsements as well as where on the profile. So you use this drag and drop feature to display the endorsements wherever you wish. To remove a skill from your profile, you simply go into edit mode and click the X. The education portion of your profile, for many of us, our formal education was quite some time ago. Perhaps you've gone to some kind of training or certification in recent years, and it's perfectly appropriate and advisable to include that on your profile. And you can add, as I mentioned previously, relevant attachments, such as a group project or a published paper. I think this is more common in the maybe under 25 set who have grown up with social tools, that they have no problem with sharing everything. The other thing you want to be thinking about is you want to drive traffic to your website, presuming you have a website. You want to drive traffic to pick up the phone and call you or meet with you. So perhaps a better approach might be to include a call to action to your website to say, I offer a free ebook, I offer a free consultation, rather than just simply giving it away. You can rearrange the sequence of your education as desired using those same up and down arrows. Recommendations are really key to providing credibility on LinkedIn, and recommendations are different from endorsements. Endorsements are anybody, whether they know you have a skill or not, can check off a skill, and that's an endorsement. A recommendation is like a traditional recommendation, provides an informed validation of some skills that you have. They are important to credibility on LinkedIn. So if you are applying for a job through LinkedIn, oftentimes a recruiter won't even look at a profile that doesn't have recommendations. The nice thing is that they're really 360 degree. They can be provided by a subordinate, by a client, by a partner, for either a current role or a past role. In order to recommend someone on LinkedIn, you don't even actually have to be connected to them, but you do have to have an account. And the process to recommend someone on LinkedIn is much, much simpler than the traditional recommendation. If you ask somebody for a traditional recommendation in the olden days, they would think, oh gosh, I have to type a 3-page letter and then save it as a PDF and what have you. We're talking about a few sentences, so it's very relevant to the way we work today. So to request a recommendation, you would do it for both your current position as well as past positions, because you want to show not just that you've been focused in the last 18 months on building your current business, but also that you have kind of a history of working well with others and helping and owning whatever it is that your profession is. The recommendations menu that we're looking at here includes recommendations given, recommendations requested, and a tool, a format to ask for recommendations. And a recommendation is associated with a particular role or job. So say there's someone you've worked with for your entire career history, what you need to do is select a position that to request the recommendation for. Obviously, your current role would be the one that you want to have the most recommendations for, but don't ignore past positions. It's a good idea to have recommendations on those as well, if you can. So when you first are requesting your first recommendation, you access it through your settings menu. So if you remember, the settings menu is on the very top bar, on the black one, your profile icon on the top right. You click there and you go down to the settings, and there's a recommendation item there. As the recipient of a recommendation, someone will send it to you through LinkedIn, and you get to look at it. And you get to decide, okay, this isn't as glowing as I thought it was going to be. I think I'm not going to post this. Or it really says almost the exact same thing as this other one, or it's got typos in it. So you can decide whether to display it or not. You can ask for the person to edit it, like, this is wonderful, except you misspelled my name, or you know, for whatever reason, you can request an edit, but you can't edit it yourself. So that retains the integrity of the platform. When you're requesting a recommendation, you're asking somebody to go out of their way for you. Always personalize the request for a recommendation. Make it easy for the person. So I'm asking you to do this recommendation. We worked together on this particular project. At the time, you were so appreciative of my skills in making sure that we met all the deadlines and fulfilled all the criteria. Basically, you've written it for them. You just make it easy. Because remember, you are asking somebody to take their time for you. LinkedIn will populate, subsequent to receiving a recommendation, LinkedIn will populate a message to say, oh, Judy recommended you, would you like to recommend her back? And my recommendation is to not routinely reciprocate recommendations, because there's certain people that you think of in your network as, that person is fabulous, they helped me a lot. Those are the people that you want to go out of your way to recommend, and you don't have to wait for somebody to ask you for a recommendation. You can just go ahead and recommend them. But if all of your recommendations are reciprocal, it really kind of devalues them a little bit. So just think about it. If you might have a fantastic working relationship with somebody and a lot of mutual respect, and in that case, it's appropriate to have a reciprocal recommendation, but don't make it the norm. Search is the next area of LinkedIn that is very, very useful for improving or increasing your visibility. So we use this search box up in the top, and that's the drop-down menu that I was speaking of before. So within that drop-down menu, you can search for people, you can search for jobs, you can search for your college or university, and so on. When you click on that down arrow, you will see this drop box, which gives you the different choices, and you'll get you'll get the little icons here. So you can simply just go into that box and start typing somebody's name. And if it's obvious that it's a name, then LinkedIn is going to recognize that and you don't have to go down to this people icon. But there might be cases where you start typing something, like say you start typing John. Well, it might think that you're looking for somebody named John, or you might be looking for Johnson & Johnson. So it's going to return results that are both companies and perhaps groups and then individuals. So if you're having difficulty finding something, you want to change the icon first by clicking here. You get the appropriate icon and then populating the search box. When you're using the search box, you want to type the first word slowly, again, to allow the search engine to kick in. The advanced search, which is over here, and you can click on, it helps you to find names or individuals or companies that might not be listed in the exact way you think. So you know of a company, for example, in a specific way, and when it was built in LinkedIn, it was built in slightly differently. Maybe it has LTD at the end, maybe it has Inc., or maybe it's just like it's the parent name and what you're familiar with is a subsidiary. So the advanced search can be used to look for companies, or it can be used to look for that individual that you know perhaps by her maiden name, which is her professional name, but she created her LinkedIn profile with her married name. It's just all those complex situations, like any filter on an e-commerce site, just allows you to search in a more robust way. Growing your connections is important to increasing your visibility on LinkedIn. So we've talked about all different kinds of ways you want to make a concerted effort to grow your connections on LinkedIn. So as you're meeting people, as you're speaking with people, as you're introduced to people, you routinely try to add them to your network. So you use the search box, you click on this drop down to get people, and you type in the name. You may need to narrow the choices because there's multiple ones, and in that case you might need to use the advanced search to say, I'm looking for that particular individual, and they're in the greater Boston area. All of a sudden your search pool narrows. You might have to double check your spelling and so on to find the correct person. When you find the correct profile, you click connect, and you're presented with a screen like this. So how do you know this individual? And you have these choices. If you choose anything aside from friend, you're expected to populate an email address. And that is purposeful because you're supposed to know people if you're going to be connecting with them on LinkedIn. If somebody is your friend, certainly type friend. If they're not your friend, it's not appropriate. This is a business platform. If you type that you don't know the person and you do it with any kind of frequency, that's a red flag to LinkedIn. It's saying, like, I'm using this for spamming purposes, and you've probably gotten invitations from people, and you don't know who they are, and I trust and recommend that you don't connect with people if you have no idea who they are. So you select the appropriate option. So we've done business together. Sometimes you won't have somebody's email address, but perhaps you have met them at a conference, or you're familiar with one another's names. So in that case, you can populate we've done business together, and you actually don't need their email address. But be honest here. If you need to connect with someone and they have a website and they are the principal of the business, you can always go to their website, to the contact page, and probably figure out what an email address is to get to them. You always want to edit the invitation copy. So again, you're a professional. You want to give someone the context of how you met or how they know you. So in this case, I say it was great chatting with you last evening at the chamber meeting. What a small world that we both grew up in the Berkshires. I've signed up for your email newsletter on your site. In other words, I'm reaching out to you. I'm trying to help you on your business. I'm paying it forward to you. Let's also connect here. So you've started out this relationship in a very positive way. You're not saying, let's connect here, and can I add you to my blog, and will you follow me on social media, and come buy my services. It's very much about paying it forward. And then you simply click the send invitation. So who do you connect with? The big question. Oftentimes I'll work with somebody who will go to the trouble of building a really robust profile, and they'll say, I don't know who to connect with, and yet they have thousands and thousands of connections in their address book. So you want to think about your current and past colleagues. Who did you work with at that company prior to this one that you had a really good relationship with, that you worked with for a long period of time, who might not necessarily be relevant to your current role, but you don't know that they're not married to someone who could be a perfect client, or the brother of someone, or the neighbor of someone, or what have you. So it's not so much about really purposefully growing your business today. It's about growing your network and growing your exposure. People you meet in networking groups, at professional conferences, people that friends or colleagues introduce you to. As I said before, don't just simply accept a request from someone you don't know. Perhaps you're corresponding with somebody online. I've had situations where I've actually met someone on Twitter who turned out to be local, who would ask me to be involved in an event, and in those cases I would eventually connect with that person on LinkedIn before meeting them in person. It is a personal choice, but you are putting a good bit of personal information on your profile, so you don't want to just connect with anyone. LinkedIn includes functionality to introduce two of your connections. It's a little stilted to me. If I want to introduce people, I'll typically do an email, and then I'll include that URL, that LinkedIn URL, to say, here you can find one another, or I'll attach a PDF of the profile of one person that I'm introducing to the other. So, with social media in general, just like with networking, it's not all about you, it's really about engaging with others. So if you spend the whole time during a conversation talking about yourself and your own business, you're not learning about the other person, and they walk away from the conversation perhaps a little bit more informed about you, but not necessarily satisfied that they were heard. So the news feed, which you access on the homepage, is your inbound information. These are people that you've connected with, and you want to find out about them. So you routinely, when you log into LinkedIn, want to spend some time on that homepage, and you can scroll through it, seeing what's going on with your network. And give yourself a set amount of time, because it can be a time suck, but look at the value that your network is providing to you. Explore opportunities for engagement or collaboration. This little tiny thing here, these three dots right at the top of the news feed, are a toggle, so you can select recent updates or top updates. Top updates are going to include sponsored information, which is like paid advertising. So what you might want to do, I routinely switch it to recent, because that's what I'm interested in looking at. And these can be updates from your connections, that they have new connections, that they've published a blog post, that they have a new skill, that they've been endorsed for something, they have new experience, a certification, what have you. It's posts from groups, so if you are a member of a particular group, it will include activity associated with that group. If you are following certain companies on LinkedIn, it will include that information, and again, the sponsored updates. So you're looking on your news feed to engage with your audience, and perhaps they've posted something that's interesting to you, or it just jogs your memory, oh wow, I wanted to talk to them about getting together for coffee, or about attending their workshop, or what have you. You can message them directly. So you go into your inbox, or into their direct profile, and you message them. This is basically, looks like a email, and this is supposed to be a pencil crafting a new message, and you start to type their name slowly in the inbox. If you're doing it from their profile, there's just a message button. You can message up to 50 people at one time. So say you are doing an open house, you're doing a ribbon cutting, an event, you want to share an event of a colleague or what have you. This is a way to communicate with a quick communication with up to 50 people. You can also do it through your email marketing tool, but for some this is quicker. You type your subject here, your message. This is an important box to look at if you are sending a message to multiple people who are not part of a closed group. You don't necessarily want them to be able to see one another's email addresses, so it's kind of like a VCC or a blind copy. So you uncheck that box that says, let them see one another's contact information. And you want to send yourself a copy here. This is the bottom box, so that you have it in your email. So that's a very valuable platform. I routinely will use LinkedIn messaging. Like basically the newsfeed will prompt me, just like I said, to engage with someone. Perhaps I haven't seen them, did you have a good summer? Are you going to be at this event or this event that's upcoming? It's all about staying top of mind, because that person might have said several months ago, or even years ago, I want to talk to you, I just need to get myself ready to use your services. The status update is the easiest way to get involved on LinkedIn. You use it to share, again, a business-related update with your network. So these are the ways on the homepage that you can update your status. You can share an update, upload a photo, or publish a blog post from your homepage. The kinds of updates that you can provide, remember that you are the expert in your business, so what you might think of as unremarkable is useful information. So a small tip, a couple of sentences, a link to an article that you've read with your informed assessment, not good article, but this was meaningful because, and a context. A link to your website, summarize a conference you attended, a presentation, and what have you. I think I put something on my LinkedIn profile yesterday about the fact that I was speaking here today. Somebody gets a great tip from this workshop today, you can bring that back and you can put it on your profile. I learned this at this particular workshop. You can create a blog post using the Pencil, which is the embedded blogging platform with LinkedIn. Or if you blog on your own website, you can take that content and either link to it or share it right in your status update. The more you use LinkedIn, like any social media, the more you get out of it. I say try to update your status once a week. I have clients that I update their status a couple times a day. So you get out of it what you put into it. You type your update in the share an update box on the home page or on the company page. And your status updates will be shown in the news feed on the home page of your connections. So outbound is from the share an update or publish a post. Inbound is on the home page, so you can see the updates in your connections. The publisher platform within LinkedIn here is basically an embedded blogging platform. So if you don't have a blog on your website, but you want to publish content, words, you can do that here. It's a very simple platform, looks very much like a Word document or a blogging platform. It suggests that you upload a large image, and it's a positive thing for visibility, so while it's a little bit unwieldy, I do recommend that you include an image if you can. You create a punchy headline the way you would on any blog or email newsletter, write your post, use these formatting tools, and include a call to action. So what do you want people to do after they read this? You want them to call you? Do you want them to go to your website to see more? Do you want them to come to your event? So always remember, whether it's within LinkedIn or on your own site, to include a call to action about what you want the client or the reader to do next. Add these tags. These are embedded on LinkedIn. It's not as free as a general blogging platform where you can create your own tags. You have to use the ones that are within LinkedIn. And then you can share that blog post via your groups or your status update or what have you. Groups help you increase your visibility, and you can demonstrate your expertise within a targeted segment of individuals. You access groups through that same search bar on the black bar. And you can search for groups via any number of means. So it can be by a demographic, it can be by industry, by geography. And you use search terms. There are myriad groups in LinkedIn, so the tricky part is finding the right ones. But you want to look at the number of members of a group and the activity level. So if there's a group and it has 20 or 10 or 30 people, unless it's a very, very specific area, you might want to look for a group that has more people. You also want to look for a group that isn't totally dominated by one individual. So once you're a member of a group, you can look at the activity and see whether it's just one person on transmit or whether there's really engagement going on. These are the kinds of groups you can look for. You want to actively participate, and again, it's not only about talking about yourself, it's about looking at other people's posts and engaging with them. Your interaction with your groups, again, is shown on the activity feed of your connections. You can create your own group, probably not necessary because you can probably find one. Once you're in a group, you can actually view and message the members. So this is a great way to increase your exposure. If you're doing business development, you find a targeted group that is your audience. You're a health coach, you're looking for people who are interested in health. You find a group associated with health in the northwest of Boston area. Here's your audience, and you can actually see all those members and message those people. use your settings. Remember the settings we discussed? You go to your photo icon and click down to privacy and settings to control the amount of email you get about groups, because you might get emails every time anybody participates in any of your groups. You can dial that down to daily or weekly, or not at all. So to access your groups, this is the page you get. These are the groups I belong to, and then there's this view more. Or you can find a group using simple search. So you start to type a word and the embedded search will kick in. I mentioned before that it's really important to measure what you're doing, whether it's LinkedIn or any kind of marketing. Within the profile menu, you click on the menu item profile and you go down to the analytics, and it gives you visibility about your profile. So who's viewed it, who's viewed your posts, that's your blog posts, and how you rank for profile views, this is sort of marginal value. This chart is actually live, so as you scroll over the different bars in the chart, you can see whether your profile views and your visibility has gone up or not. Direct correlation, you participate, your bar gets bigger, you participate less, your bar gets smaller, unless it's like a holiday week, in which case, hopefully people aren't paying a lot of attention. So this is, you can hide the chart or show the chart. And in the lower part of the page, you get some profiles of people who have looked at your profile. This is a little bit of like a professional flirting. Sometimes you might see a profile and say, wow, that person sounds interesting, and you might look back, and then you might engage in some kind of dialogue. If you have a free account, you might see more of the silhouettes, or if you have your own privacy settings dialed way down to not show anybody anything, you might be seeing primarily silhouettes, so you might want to explore your settings. A company profile is another way you can participate on LinkedIn. To create a company page, you have to be an employee with an email address associated with that company's website, and you have to have a couple of connections on your profile. Once you have created a company page, if you have an admin or someone who works with you, you can have them manage the page. So I actually manage company pages for some of my clients. And that just means participating. You create a company page from the interest menu on that top bar. You select companies. They do offer the same status functionality. You don't have the blogging functionality on a company page. The downside to company pages is that they are built separately from personal. So you create a personal profile, you gather connections over a period of time, you have 373 connections, you establish a company page, you have 0 followers. So that is a disadvantage. I think LinkedIn is probably working towards some kind of a premium activity there. Nonetheless, you do have some analytics on your company page, and they are a great option for an independent person. Say you don't have a complete, robust website, whether you're a franchisee or you just have like a single page website, this is a great place to increase your exposure. You access your company page from the account settings. So again, you go up to your profile icon on the top right, drop down, and manage company pages is one of the options. When you create a company page, it's simply an about section. You include your specialties, you include a URL to your website and some basic information about your website, and you have an update your status section, and you update that periodically with relevant information, just like you would use in your personal status. You can add up to 3 groups to your company page, and when you post on your status update, it's automatically published to those groups. The company profile also gives you analytics, which show you the impressions, clicks, and interactions on your updates. So that's very valuable information. And again, the more you participate, the more you get out of it. These are notifications, so just like on any social media, you're notified when somebody looks at your profile, shares your profile, and so on. So these are a few final reminders. And I also have just a little handout which covers the 10 areas that we talked about. Nothing particularly remarkable in it, but if you want it kind of as a memory jogger, you're welcome to it. So thank you very much. I apologize for talking a little long.